Hey chaps, I hope you're all well, I hope life is treating you kindly and that you're all getting through this mass toilet paper shortage. Today we're going to be continuing strides towards the promised land, that is placing tile images onto the tile map through the medium of Tileset. And we're going to achieve that by introducing some initial behavior in the editor to view tileset images, so we can then select individual tiles to place on the tile map. And there's one or two improvements in usability we're going to achieve along the way as well. And that's what we're going to tackle first. So let's open up Visual Studio, give ourselves a quick reminder of where we were. So we're going to start up the editor now. And we have our dragging behavior to navigate around. We have our file new, which all works, but there is one usability problem straight away, and that is if I resize the window, the MonoGame editor control does not expand and contract with the window. And that's an easy fix for us. So let's do that now. Okay, let's close that down. Right click on Form 1 CS, View Designer, and then all we need to do is select MonoGame Editor 1. In the properties down here in the bottom right, if we just scroll down and find Anchor, give that a drop down and then select this block on the right, the block on the bottom, hit Start. Okay, now if I drag this out, you'll see the control expands and contracts with the editor window. And likewise if I maximize and restore. Okay? Cool. There is one usability problem here, and that is if I have this centered, which I do generally like to work, and I'm working on the tile map here, I can then maximize and the map disappears all the way up there. Ideally, I'd like this to remain centered because that is where I am working, as of course the window itself also remains largely centered. So it makes sense to leave the tile map centered as well. So we can fix that too. So what we can do is we can utilize an event on the editor control itself. So if I open up events here, and then there is one called resize, there is a problem with this in that Windows Forms does not respect the maximize functionality, so it never calls resize when that happens. So although it would work for most cases, such as resizing, this will not work for things like maximizing. So we can't use that. So let's close down the designer here. What we're going to do is open up MonoGame Editor CS here. Right click, view code. And what we're going to do is add an update method that we're going to call in here, because this gets called every frame, so we can monitor that continuously. So we'll add another method at the bottom here, private void handle viewport size change. Okay, and we'll call that from our update method. And what this is going to do is track changes in the viewport, so we can then react accordingly and change the camera. What we need is a variable to track the viewport size, so we'll have a private size2, and we'll call this the viewport size, makes sense. And then we need to include the namespace for size2, so control period, using MonoGame extended. And then what we're going to do in here is create another size2, which contains the current or the potentially new viewport size, straight from the graphics device. So size2, current size, I'll call this yeah, we'll call this current size. That's it for now. Maybe let's call this graphics device size. Okay. Equals new size2. We'll get this straight from the graphics device. Graphics device viewport width. Graphics device viewport height. Okay. And then what we want to do now is actually just compare the sizes to see if they've changed. So all we need to do is if viewport size is different to graphics device size. Okay, and then we just do some stuff. But we only want this to happen once. We're not reassigning the viewport size yet, so that's the first one we should do. So viewport size equal to graphics device size. Okay. Additionally, we need to start making some things happen with the camera now. Okay, so what we need to do is pull out the camera's center. So that is a vector 2. We'll call it camera center. Use my map, not camera center. And that is the center of the camera in world space. Okay. Now this is important. We need to get this first because in this next line it's going to change the camera's center. So we need to remember what it was. So what we do here is we'll set my map camera origin, and we'll set this to a new vector 2. And this is just going to be simply the graphics device size dot width divided by 2, and this is in screen space. Okay, so that's the center of the screen, the viewport size. And in doing that, it changes the camera's center. But what we can do now, because we have the old center, we can just say my map camera look at camera center. Okay, brilliant. So let's give that a quick start. So I'll drag this up here and I'll drag this out, and you should see, there you go, the map moves with the viewport size change because it keeps it relative to the size of the window. So I have this centered now. There we go, maximize, it remains centered. But restore, it also remains centered. So that's ideal, that's exactly what we want. And that's all we need to do for that, okay? So let's close that down. The next thing we're going to do is open up the Form 1 CS Designer. Right click the View Designer. And we need to make some room for our tileset previewing behavior. So we'll just drag this in a little bit to make some room on the left. And then open up the toolbox or Windows Form Controls, and we'll find a picture box, okay? We'll just drag this in here, drag this out, okay? And we'll call this something remotely sensible so we know what it is. We'll call this Picture Box Tileset, okay? The next thing we need to do is get an image into that picture box, so we'll add a button just to try it out and test it out until we have some proper behavior in there. So we'll open up the toolbox, button, drag this in, we'll just drag this out, and we'll give this some remotely sensible names as well. So the text, we'll just put this browse. You can imagine browsing for an image. We'll have this making do that sort of behavior, and then we'll button browse. Now this is only temporary, but at least we know what these button does now. So if we just the same way if we created a click handler for the file buttons up here, so we just double click on them, we just do the same for this browse button too. So if we just double click on him, that creates a click handler for us. Now what we're going to do here is create something called an open file dialog. Now this is the standard Windows dialog for when you want to select a file in most other things. So if I'm in Visual Studio, click file open, and then this, and then you just get the standard dialog like so. It's that sort of dialog, okay? So if I just set some properties on here, so what I want to do is check to make sure the file exists. We don't want multi-select, and we also want a filter. Now the filter is a little bit of string magic, so I'll show you how that works. So in the double quotes, like a normal string, we have a vertical bar. It's split into two sections. The section on the right is the regular expression for actually matching what file types to find. So in our case, I'm just going to work with PNGs. And then on the left is just a string, a readable, human readable message to describe that. So in our case, just PNG files. .png. This can be whatever you want it to be. The important thing is here. Okay. So now, the next thing we need to do is just to show that dialog. And it works exactly the same way as our own dialog that we created previously. So we can just literally copy this code up here and reuse that. And then of course we want to do some stuff to do, show the image. That's fair enough, okay, but let's just make sure that's working as we expect it to. So let's start the editor. And then we have our browse button here, there's no image here, but that's where one will be eventually. Let's hit the browse button, and it opens up a dialog like this. Here's our tileset images, which I will share with you guys and credit them appropriately. This is our dialog that we just created, and you'll see down here it has PNG files in brackets *.png. That is the part I told you about. Here on the left, the part that can be whatever you want it to be, and then the filtering is just filtering out PNG files. Okay, and then all I need to do is double click on these to be able to open them. But we haven't got that behavior yet, so let's do that now. Let's close this down. So we want to be able to show the image in that picture box. Okay, so this is relatively straightforward. If we just get picture box tileset image equals to image dot, we might need the namespace, control period, system.drawing, from file, and then we just get dialog.file name. So that's just pulled out the selected file from the dialog we just opened. Let's give that a quick try. Browse, and then open up mini tileset, and there he is, perfect. Now let's browse again, open up the full tileset, and you'll see it's cropped it immensely. So the reason for that is because obviously this is bigger than the tileset. The tileset is bigger than the picture box. So we need to incorporate a panel and wrap the picture box in a panel which is scrollable, so we can scroll around the tileset. We can make it so it expands, but it'll actually expand underneath the button and underneath the control over here, and that's not what we want. We want it to remain the size we specify. So what we can do here, we just create a panel and drag the picture box into that, but we're going to create a control specifically for previewing tile sets. We might find a use for it later as well, and it just saves us having to reinvent the wheel. Okay, so what we're going to do is, in our editor project over here, we're going to right click, add new folder, we'll call this controls, and then in controls we're going to right click, add new item, we'll just make a class, and we'll call this Tileset Previewer CS. And what this guy's going to be is going to extend the panel class, which is a Windows Forms control, as I just told you. We might need the namespace, control period, using system Windows Forms. Okay, perfect. And then what we'll do is we'll delete this picture box. We don't care about him anymore. We're going to now use our custom control. So let's give that a, let's build that first. So we build the control. Now delete the picture box. And then in our toolbox, we should be able to find our Tileset Previewer. So let's drag him in here as well. Place him pretty much where the picture box was. Okay. But now, of course, we have some code in Form1CS, which expects the picture box to exist, which it doesn't. Let's just comment that out for a moment. Okay, so how do we get that same behavior in our custom control? Well, we've got a panel, but not a picture box, so we need to add the picture box. Let's go back to our previewer code. In here, we're going to add the constructor. So we'll have a public Tileset Previewer in here. Okay. And then we're also going to, in here, also have a picture box. Might need the namespace. No, we don't. And this is going to be our Tileset Picture Box. I just realised I named them inversely compared to the previously, but this is a variable, so it's fine. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is instantiate that picture box in our constructor. New picture box. And then we need to add the picture box to our panel, which is just using the controls property on the panel. And all other controls, add Tileset Picture Box. Okay, perfect. So the next thing we need to do is be able to set an image on our Tileset Previewer, but a panel doesn't have an image property, so we need to make one, and that's just going to delegate down to the Tileset Picture Box's image property. So we'll have another property in here called public image. Might need the namespace for that one. System.drawing. Yep. So in here we'll have a get and a set. Okay, so the get is just simply going to return Tileset Picture Box dot image. This is just a simple case of delegating down to the property in the picture box. That's all we're doing. And then to set, we do Tileset Picture Box dot image equal to, and this is a special keyword in here, value. So that is basically whatever's being passed in, attempted to be set, and that just works. Okay, so the only thing we need to do now is go back to our Form1CS file here. Uncomment this, and then we might need to name our panel actually. So if we go back to Form1 Design, in here, yep, let's go give this a name, Tileset Previewer. Just remove the one basically, and then back here, Tileset Previewer dot image. So that's the property we just made, and then hit the start button. So let's see what happens now. Browse mini tileset. There it is. So that's a panel with a picture box inside it, and it's still working as we left it before. Let's set the full one. Okay, so you see here it's actually cropped it even more, but we can change that right away and relatively simply. So let's do that now. So if we do this, if we go back to the Tileset Previewer, there's some properties we can now set in the constructor. So I'll do this one at a time just to show you the effects of each of them. So Tileset Picture Box, if we just set this to size mode to pitch size mode dot auto size. Let's give that a run so I can show you what that does. Hit browse, full tile set. That now fills up the panel. It's resizing the entire picture box to match the size of the image, but the picture box is within the panel, so therefore it doesn't go outside the boundaries of the panel. So the next thing we need to do is make the panel scrollable. So let's scroll that down now. And then in here, all we need to do is this dot auto scroll equals true. Now, this isn't strictly required, but it just makes it easier to refer to these things. But I'll remove that now. It's just so IntelliSense kicked in. In fact, it might kick in if I do it anyway. Yeah, it does. Okay, never mind. It's not necessary. You only need to do that. Okay, let's hit start now. Browse, full tile set, and you'll see straight away we have our scrollable behavior, which is perfect. Excellent. Okay, so let's close that down. Okay, so we have our scrollable behavior, we have our ability to load tile sets, we have some foundation now to be able to move forward and actually do some more work now with tile sets themselves. Additionally, there's one more thing I'd like to add in here just as a little bonus for us today, and that is zoom. So what I'm going to do is actually head over to the MonoGame editor control in here, view code, and in here we have our ability to move the camera when we right click, we have the ability to change the color when we left click, but one thing I'd like us to add in here as well is the ability to use the mouse wheel to scroll in and out. So what we can do in here is just else if mouse state delta scroll wheel value is different to 0, i.e. have we moved the scroll wheel, and then all we need to do is actually just do camera, my map.camera, camera dot, we could clamp it, I guess. We'll do my camera dot zoom equal to math helper dot, can't spell, clamp, and this will just be my map.camera zoom plus mouse state dot delta scroll wheel value multiplied by 001f, and that's just so it doesn't happen too quickly. Okay, and what we're going to clamp this to is the my map.camera dot minimum zoom, my map.camera maximum zoom. Okay, so that should be all we need. The only thing we'd like to maybe do is customize the minimum and maximum zoom. So what we'll do is actually we'll do that, I think, right now. Oh, we don't have access to it because it's in the map, but we'll do that anyway. So if we right click on the map constructor here, go to definition, here's where we create our camera. So in here we'll just create a minimum maximum zoom. Once again, I don't like the camera being in here, but I'm going to maybe do that in the next episode actually. So in here we just set the minimum zoom equals 0.25f, maximum zoom equals 1.25f, or something to that effect. Okay, let's give that a quick run, see what happens. Okay, so we have our ability to browse, select tile set, yep, that's perfect. We have our ability to navigate around, but now additionally we should have the ability to zoom in and out. There you go. Just using the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. And everything should still work because we're using the correct transformations, world to screen, screen to world. If I click over here, if I move it around, zoom out a bit more, click here, everything just works as expected. We've just got a little bit of a bonus there for free. Okay, the only thing in here you might notice is a little bit janky, is because now I'm zoomed out, my dragging around is actually extremely slow, because it isn't taking into account the amount of zoom. So what we can do is now is actually close this down, head back to our editor control here, and actually when we're doing our move we want to just simply divide this by camera, my map.camera. See, it's just natural for me to just type camera. Oh, it's a comma. Camera dot zoom. Okay. Give that a run again, zoom out, and there you have it. Much slicker movement. It moves regardless of how far zoomed out you are. Look at that, perfect. Now you will notice, of course, it's zooming in straight on the center of the screen. It's not zooming in on where your mouse is. I'm fine with that. If you'd like to change that or something, guys, give me a shout, or if you have any other suggestions, also give me a shout. But I think that about covers it today. If we just to cover a quick run over what we've covered today, so we've made it so our editor can resize, expand and contract with the window. We've added some functionality over here. We've reduced the size of the editor control so we can make room for our tile set stuff. So if you browse, we can actually select a tile set. We can scroll around the tile set image. What we'll do next is actually add the ability to be able to select frames in here so we can then start dropping them onto the tile map itself. So, with that said, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe. All the support you've given me so far has been absolutely fantastic. I'm really enthusiastic about it. And thank you ever so much for giving me all the support you have, and I hope you enjoy these. Please take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, look after your family, stay strong, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Bye bye.